overall, what did you think of your group from week one?
Week one, I thought we had a solid performance. Some older guys doing some good things, getting fine-tuned, and some younger guys showing up. Had a lot of guys with the opportunity to play football, so it was good to see. Certainly some mistakes to clean up, and we'll need to clean those up going in here to week two.
How valuable is it to get those younger guys in? It looked like Kyle got a lot of playing time, Braylon, just to get them experience so early in the season.
Yeah, I think it's huge. I mean, you're going to count on those guys in big games this season. So to be able to get some of those early season jitters out and gain some confidence and understand being in that fire, it's a little bit different environment than in practice. So I think it's huge, that experience, for those guys to grow and figure out what they did wrong and what they did right and build on some of those good things.
What are some of the things you have to focus on this week that Cincinnati's going to challenge you guys, specifically in the passing game?
Yeah, Cincinnati, obviously, great opponent. Won a lot of ball games there in recent history, and a team that's kind of transferred, brought a few transfers in, but they look good. I think 667 yards offense. So they're doing some things right. They got a quarterback who can sling it and run it. Some talented guys on the perimeter. So their pass game will be something we'll have to prepare for sure.
As a freshman walk-on linebacker at Cincinnati, what was your first impression of Pat Narduzzi?
It's the same as it is today. I think Coach Narduzzi's always been the same. He's a passionate Italian man, loves football, loves people, and again, I've always appreciated that. He's made me a better man, certainly made me a better football player, and so that was my first impression and still my impression to this day.
When you go back to those days, would you have ever envisioned that you'd be coaching for him on his staff?
I guess at the time I didn't know I wanted to be a football coach, but I guess in hindsight it certainly makes sense. I love where I'm at, certainly blessed. Surrounded with Coach Dews and the rest of his coaching staff, great people, and the culture here. We got great players. I'm certainly blessed.
A lot of the time, it seemed like Bengali had been working at Star and Solomon at Money. You guys flipped that kind of heading into last week. How have those guys done in those roles?
Yeah, I mean, we've cross-trained those guys throughout spring, summer, and camp. So I don't think it was a shock as far as them having to play a certain position. I mean, that was we're just trying to figure out, get the right guys on the bus and get the in the right seats and make sure we have the best guys moving. And so I think they clicked their game one, and so we'll continue to build off that. But it was good to see those guys kind of own those roles and those positions and have some success out there.
Has Shane been given any added or different responsibilities now that he's solidified as the Mike linebacker? I mean, that's a role that Servassier had a pretty good grasp on last year up until the Sun Bowl and everything. Is that something Shane's embracing?
Yeah, Shane loves it. He loves being in the middle and that leadership. Certainly he felt Voss's leadership last year and understands what that takes. And he's done a tremendous job. And I think first and foremost it starts with who he is, the type of person he is to be able to come here, be voted captain by his peers. And he works his tails off every single day, both mentally and physically, preparing himself. And so he likes that role, and he's excited about it. And the other thing with Mike is you'll see him in our Delta package as well, which I think he's excited about, working some pass rush moves and different things that he didn't able to showcase last year.
Pat told us about how one thing you guys have to watch out for this week is the wide shoot, and how Cincinnati's going to use it in similar ways how Miami used it last year. What are things that you noted about how you guys have to improve from last year and things you're focusing on this week to kind of counter that?
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime you're playing an opponent, you look back at things that have hurt you in the past, and I think Coach Satterfield's offense has done a great job of doing film study and looking at prior opponents' weaknesses and making sure you've corrected those. And so, as you mentioned, they went back in the archives, picked a T-shoot or a Y-shoot from the Miami game, and did that last year, and I think Voss was all over it for a PBU. But certainly that makes you go back at all your previous games with a fine-tooth comb and make sure all those little things are sealed up, knowing that they could come back and revisit if you haven't fixed them. And that's with any game. You want to make sure you're prepared, and we're going to keep preparing until kickoff, and then it's all adjustments from there.
Beyond the X's and O's, what did Pat teach you about how to treat players, young guys?
It's love. It's about treating people how you want to be treated, but coaching them hard. And I think first it's about building those relationships, making sure they know that you care about them, but also understand that you care about their goals, and you're not going to let them, not fight full for their goals. So you're coaching them with tough love and pushing them to get where they want to get and where this team needs them to get.
Pat talked about Emory Jones, the Cincinnati quarterback, and how there's some similarities to Malik Cunningham, which you saw in Louisville. Are you seeing that same thing, given it's the same coach and coaching, style?
Yeah, you could certainly see how Emery fits what Coach Satterfield has done in the past with athletic quarterbacks. So he has that ability to run. They've shown draw, they've shown the option, he can scramble. So those elements are there, but he also has a live arm. And so I think that ingredient makes him a dynamic quarterback. And so, like I said, 667 yards offense, we'll be ready.
Ryan, what has Marquand been able to contribute to your room, even as he kind of took that medical disqualification?
Absolutely. Coach Pope has done a great job helping me in any way off the field with different things, and then on the field being one of our signalers and being able to help us in any way. He's a great attitude. He understands our defense. He's sharp. I think he has a bright future ahead of him in coaching.
Do the players call him Coach Pope?
I hope so. I hope so. I guess I'm not always around him, but in my presence, he's coach.
When did you decide you wanted to be a coach? At what point?
Yeah, so my coaching journey started after I got cut for the second time in the NFL, and went to work in the mortgage field with my business degree, and was learning, getting licensed, and figured out real quick that I missed football and the purpose and the passion and the brotherhood. So then I actually went to an Ohio high school clinic where Coach D'Antonio was, who was my coach at Cincinnati, my first head coach there, and talked with him about being a graduate assistant football coach, and he tried to actually talk me out of it. And I was like, no, I'm certain. You know what I mean? And so got up there and got the opportunity. So certainly appreciate the heck out of Coach D'Antonio and Coach Narduzzi and everybody else in this profession who's given me that opportunity.
Why did he try to talk you out of it?
Because it's a tough profession. I mean, the hours, you certainly have to have a family who understands. My wife's a rock, she gets it, but it's not easy. And so being able to handle the time constraints and understand that our players are like an extension of our family, I think it's a lifestyle. And so he just wanted to make sure I understood that commitment and make sure I was truly all in before I took that step.
I'm curious, when you guys go into the Delta, you bring that extra player into the sort of the middle of the defense. This year it's AJ Woods, it's been safeties in the past. Does that guy then become sort of your responsibility as far as coaching? You know what I mean? Like, since he's sort of playing a linebacker-ish role?
And we've, based on, I guess, where that guy's original position as he gets his initial coaching, we all kind of understand the role of that guy as position coaches. And Coach Bates is certainly hands-on with that guy as well. So there's a lot of different guys that look at that position, make sure he's doing the right thing. But yeah, it's a fun role for that guys. If you remember a few years back, Johnny Patrician played that role, and so he was more in my room. And so we've had different safeties, corners, different guys play that role. So they get coached by a lot of guys.
Coach, what do you look at Nick Lappy, former walk-on, now scholarship player? What have you seen out of him, not just as past camping as well for the last Saturday?
Yeah, Nick Lappy, last year, as I mentioned before in interviews, led our team in special teams reps. He's a consistent, conscientious, high performer. I mean, you know what you're going to get out of Nick Lappy. He comes to work every single day and he does his job. And I think that consistency is why he was rewarded. And that's what gives him a chance to perform and have a chance to help us every Saturday. And again, that's a huge moment for all walk-ons. I had that moment as a player too, and I think that elevates everyone in this team when a guy's recognized for that.
As someone who's played in this game, what are your thoughts on the paddle wheel trophy no longer being up for grabs Saturday?
I'll leave my personal opinions away from this. We're excited about Cincinnati because they're the next opponent, and they're a great opponent.